Brittany Spears recently revealed that she had an abortion when she was in a relationship with Justin Timberlake. And it is a very heartbreaking story. Some of the things that she said about the entire situations are just sad. She said that to this day, abortion is one of the most agonizing things that she had ever experienced in her entire life. And the reason that she had to go through that is because supposedly Justin wasn't ready to be a father. She actually said that it was a surprise, but for her, it wasn't a tragedy. I always expected for us to have a family together one day, but Justin definitely wasn't happy about the pregnancy. He said we weren't ready to have a baby in our lives and that we were way too young. She continued in saying that I'm sure people will hate me for this, but I agreed to abort the baby. I don't know if it was the right decision. If it had been left up to me alone, I never would have done it. And yet Justin was so sure that he didn't want to be a father. And the thing about this story that I cannot let go and drives me absolutely insane is that sentence. That he essentially forced her to have an abortion because he didn't want to be a father, because he wasn't ready. And I just want this to be a giant reminder that men who are pro-choice do it for them, not you. So if you are a girl who has a boyfriend that is a champion of women's rights, just know that he is pro-choice for himself, not because he really supports what's best for you. Because when it comes to pro-choice men, it's a conflict of interest. Justin didn't want to take the responsibility for his actions. And it actually drives me crazy because he's got to be unbelievably rich. So what was it that made him not ready, other than the sheer fact that he just didn't want a baby, even though his baby already existed? Was it that he had too much money, that he had too many resources to have nannies and childcare? Was it that he had too many houses to fill children with, too much food? These rich celebrities that come out and say, well, I wasn't ready to have a baby. No, just say it for what it is. I care more about the fame and my freedom than the child of my life. That's what it really is. And it's driving me insane because we hear this all the time in Hollywood. These rich celebrities that act as if it was some sacrificial decision. A sacrifice to what? Yourself. You are sacrificing the life of your precious baby that you created so that you have more freedom, more money, and that you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to have any ties to anyone. You're just a free individual that doesn't care about anyone but themselves. That's how I view this whole thing. It's also a big reflection of the intentions of men who say that they're pro-choice. I just don't believe that men are pro-choice because they honestly believe in women's rights. And what I think is insane is that somehow men brought the abortion issue into this country. Men did. It was men who championed abortion in the beginning. It was men who brought it into this country, pushed legislation to make sure that it was completely accessible. Why? Because they benefited from it. Because abortion enables men to let go of the responsibility of having a child. What's the difference between an absent father and a pro-choice man? Nothing. If you ditch your child and the woman that you created that child with, you're viewed as an absent, terrible human being in our country. If you kill the baby and ditch the woman, yay, women's rights. How did we even get here? How did the abortion movement dupe women so far into not only believing this lie, but then convince them to champion it and fight for it themselves, to fight for an oppressive thing against women? Abortion is the most devastating thing to ever happen to womanhood. It is absolutely devastating, and yet we live in a country where women are fighting for it themselves. How tragic is that? And what's always ignored is the repercussions of stories like Britney saying, it was the worst decision I ever made in my life. There's not a day that I live that I don't think about that decision, the heartbreaking reality of what happened. Those are ignored. It's all about, yay, women's rights, abortion is awesome. And then the conversation ends there because they don't want to deal with the repercussions. What I do know for a fact is we don't need more men like Justin Timberlake. We need men who are going to actually care for the women they sleep with, take responsibility for their actions, and raise their children, not because they are selfless, but because it is their responsibility. When you create a human being, a child has a right to their parents. You do not get to choose whether they live or die. That is absurd. Children have a right to their parents, and parents have an obligation to care for, protect, and love their children. And abortion somehow convinced people that that responsibility doesn't begin until the baby pops out of the womb. Life begins at conception, and so does the responsibility.